Angie, welcome back to Face. How are you, goddess?
Oh, good. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be back. I'm just kind of running through. We get weekly export sales that drop at 8:30 in the morning. So I was just pulling that up to see what the week looked like, but doing pretty good. No complaints.
Okay, and the grains have been under pressure as of late.
Yeah.
I know some guys, maybe you could explain it to me. I think they used to be in the business, but they use cycles, and they were talking about a June low, which, isn't that far away, a couple months away. Why would someone cyclically be looking for a low in June? Would that be because all the planting is done and that's when the stress could come on the crop during the growing season here?
Oh, like, yeah, I guess. I mean, I've never really, I guess the June low would make sense as we would work up higher towards pollination. I feel like
Okay.
seasonally for us, we tend to get a little bit of a rally here, and I think we'll continue to see one. I think one of the biggest things that we're looking at in corn, especially, is that we've had the managed money kind of evacuate the market. So we lost our CFTC report for all of February, and that just so
Oh,
happened to
that's right.
coincide.
So they
Yeah,
stopped trading. They stopped trading the grains when they couldn't get the numbers, right?
Well, they liquidated. I mean, whether or not it was a cause and effect or just a happy little coincidence there. We've seen this massive liquidation in corn, especially record amount of liquidation here over the last 4 weeks. Soy or wheat, excuse me, has already been, kind
Yeah,
of
under pressure.
a short. And so soybeans are kind of next on the block, we feel like. But I do feel like we're going to be working our way, I would say, more towards a short-term low here. Like we've been oversold in corn, which we've bounced back pretty
Yeah, we're
extensively
bouncing back.
over the last few trading days, especially on the May board.
Yeah.
But it's it's interesting just simply because we are working our way more into the northern hemisphere weather market. Right at the same time, we have all of the issues at hand with the outside market structure and things of that nature. So it's a big question now as to what happens, just simply because in grains, we really do rely on that outside money flow to kind of give us that extra juice.
What made up for Ukraine and Russia wheat supplies that drove a bear market in wheat?
Well, Russia ended up borrowing, acquiring is probably maybe a better word, a good portion of Ukraine's wheat that was produced in the eastern part of the country.
Yes.
A large amount of Ukrainian wheat is actually produced in the oblasts that they had invaded last year, and so you saw, several million, probably 10 to 15 million potentially metric ton, um, just kind of be acquired by the Russians at low cost or no cost, you could say. And so
Yeah.
that's really kind of what's propelled their
So it
production.
really
Their
wasn't
production has
lost. It really wasn't
no,
lost to the market.
no,
That's
it
what
was
you're saying.
found. It was just found by the Russians. And so, one of the most interesting things that we're seeing right now is that Russia is offering cash wheat into the global market, nearly $2 a bushel lower than where cash wheat values were directly after the invasion.
Wow,
And so I'm
that's
a cash grain trader by trade. That's my background is
right,
physical bushels.
right.
And cash is king. And so when you have cheap supply, which Russia's readily supplying into the market, and then Ukraine, obviously, the Ukrainian farmers just been hit. They're the ones that are taking a good amount of brunt on the cheap pricing, simply because they're getting $3 to $4 a bushel versus the $7 a bushel on the board. And so that's kept folks that need wheat able to buy it relatively cheaply out of the Black Sea. And then Australia also came in with a record crop this year.
Okay.
And that was just harvested here a couple months ago. So basically, we still have a massive supply of wheat able to work its way out of Russia over the next couple few months, and a big supply out of Australia that's going to work its way out of the market over the next few months. And that will carry us well into harvest, with the $1 million question being, what does Northern Hemisphere production look like as we work our way forward with the Southern Plains drought? There's dry weather in Europe. Obviously Ukrainian plantings will be down. Russian production is going to be down. There'll be a few things that'll probably provide a bullish catalyst to this market. But if cash values stay cheap in the world, futures have a hard time rallying.
Yeah. Do you think we could see $12 beans down here, Angie?
The potential is there, but speaking of cash markets, that's one thing that I'm really watching because the Brazilian supply is coming into the market and they just produced a record crop. So we're kind of in the process of trying to work a watermelon through a garden hose when it comes to that. And it's weighing heavy on their cash values. So similar to wheat, if you have a big supply of cheap physical product, obviously you're not running out. However, there are a lot of logistical limitations and things of that nature that'll keep soybeans. They're not just all going to come into the world market right away, and we have a very tight supply here in the U.S. I'm going to struggle with us seeing, the fund length concerns me. I think that could be one thing that could push us towards 12. But I don't feel like they're really actively involved in the November market near as much. And so I think the idea that we could see a reduction in plantings, potential problems with the growing season, probably see a reduction in, carry out here to closer to 200 million bushels, which is basically pipeline minimum. All of these things are going to kind of support this market. But like I said, as we've seen in corn and as we've seen in wheat and other commodities, if the speculators decide to kind of evacuate, if we get some, just a sell off and the technicals start to break down, what you think is low ends up, you wish you'd have sold there sometimes, And so we'll be watching, but I think this market's going to find a low. It's lost $1 here in a very, very quick amount of time. And it's way too early to do that. We haven't even put a seed in the ground.
Is Brazil having a good crop? Could that be what's pressuring grain, the beans?
Well, Brazil's bean crop is about 1 billion bushels larger than what we had a year ago.
That's a lot.
To put that into perspective, we will have 200 million bushels left over in the US at the end of this marketing year. So basically the increase in Brazil's production is 5 times that. I mean, it's something that is difficult to wrap our minds around just simply because it's happened so quickly. Over the last few years, I mean, you've basically added 2 billion worth of production in the last decade out of Brazil, and they have the potential to continue to grow by 10%. Lula's traveling to China next week. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so it's that's interesting. So Lula's done some things right. Farming seems to have thrived under him.
Yeah, it had prior. Agriculture had really grown prior. And then of course it did it under Bolsonaro. He was if you talk to or if you look at production as a whole, you can't say that it didn't, whether the producers made money or whether there was growth or all those questions can go depending on your politics. Like a lot of farmers will struggle with the Lula versus the Bolsonaro thing, just like anywhere else. But just looking at simple production growth, yes, it's been a huge explosion. Now, obviously, the market structure has been one that's wanted that to happen. China has really, really supported infrastructure growth and all of that. And then you have Brazil's ag minister right now is a former president of the country's soybean producer association. I mean, he's a farmer and is going to do a lot to make sure that not only are they improving infrastructure, they're able to continue to grow their production because they have a lot of degraded pasture available. They say that they can plant soybeans into and end up with a reasonably large crop. So it's definitely something to watch, especially considering the U.S. relies really heavily. Half of our demand structure in soybeans is exports. The other half is crush. With biodiesel, renewable diesel, and other renewable fuels kind of seeing an increase in demand, we'll obviously see we'll see a shift, I think, more towards a domestic demand structure in soybeans, but it's always bumpy when you see a transition in any way. And we're kind of going through a bit of a global transition.
Another supply chain transition from relying upon, kind of like semiconductors, don't have them produced overseas, build them here.
Yeah, so we'll do that. I mean, similar to what you saw in ethanol. I mean, ethanol was a 5 billion bushel boom in corn. It won't be quite to that level. You're talking, 400 million bushels worth of soybeans. But with the growth in Brazil and things of that nature, we will need to bring some of that demand home. Yes.
Argentina come in with a good wheat crop? Is that also a factor weighing on?
Argentina, we'll have to see. I mean, they look like they're going to see an increase in rain. You know, Argentina suffered from one of the worst droughts seen in 60 years there over the last year. So their wheat crop last year was basically decimated. We're working our way now towards corn and soybean harvest in the country, with wheat planting directly after. There is talk now that we'll see an uptick in rain, and with La Nina breaking down and a potential transition towards El Nino.
I was going to
You
ask you
know,
about that,
yeah,
Angie,
it's a good
because
thing, hopefully.
because this is the one of the coldest, wettest winters I can remember in California. That
Oh
did not
yeah,
remind me of uh, La Nina. It reminded
no,
me more of El Nino years.
yeah. I mean, we're looking at a pretty sharp transition. I'm not a meteorologist, but those much smarter than me who are, the models are pointing that we could see a transition as quickly as May into El Nino, but realistically, it'll be later this summer into the fall. El
Well, there you
Nino in
go.
the
There's your
past,
June low.
yeah, that could
Okay,
be,
and
like,
and
but it tends to be
some weather stress in the Midwest with that happening by
there
then.
could be, yeah. There's a potential there. It's mixed. We've seen
You
a
know what?
couple, like that's
We
it's a
just
hard
cased
part.
it all out. We cased it out.
Did you?
So
All
Bill,
right, so we'll get that. That'll be, yeah, there will be if we do run into weather stress. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing right now is like we're in this period of potential transition, but we have a lot of buts, or ifs that we have to work through. And so it's not surprising to see the funds kind of trim back some of their length with everything else that's going on.
yeah.
It's 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 not surprising. But it does open us up to some pretty sharp gains potentially, but even more so, I think some real volatile moves here in the weeks and months ahead.
Okay. I think that we covered a lot of ground. Covered the globe, Russia, South America. We're talking about potential change in the current out there in the Pacific. That's going to, I remember many El Nino years in, when I was in the Midwest and trading. So a lot of things coming together for, I consider it an asset class now, Angie.
Hmm.
Um, and people are starting to look at them more. That's why they came up with ETFs on
Yeah.
soybeans. And with your business model, I know you mainly work with commercials and growers. Is there any reason that you would want retail traders or anything to contact you or uh,
Oh yeah. I mean, if they want insight into the market and what's actually happening in the physical market, because the cash leads. I mean, in grain markets, it's basis spreads and futures. One, two, three, and so if you really want to talk to someone that actually is paying attention to what's happening in the physical, and what that could mean, instead of kind of the 1,000 foot view. That's what we're here for.
okay,
um
so
you
you
know
do have, okay, so here I see
yeah,
Angie's morning markets or
yeah,
cash. All right, so this is going to be valuable this growing season in my
yeah.
extreme
We'll
opinion.
definitely be able to share insight into everything that's
Yeah.
happening in the growing season. We work with hundreds of farmers across the country and have connections around the world. It's really kind of one of those things that our job is to be on top of it for our growers, to help them maximize their margins and come out of a year as profitably as they possibly can. But that information that we get, the insight that we have from that really can help those on the outside looking in.
Okay. I really appreciate your views and coming here and sharing it. And I think that um, you're going to be getting a lot more attention this summer and fall, Angie. People are going to be paying
Well,
attention.
we're ready for it. So
Yeah.
yeah, if anyone needs anything at all, never hesitate to reach out. You can find us, like on the website right here. You can find me
Yeah.
on Twitter or pretty much
God
anywhere, I
at
think.
Goddess of Grain, and you can't eat silver or gold,
No,
but
you
you
cannot.
can eat protein gold, which is
That is true.
soybeans.
Yeah,
Great catching up.
100%.
Yeah, great catching up with you, Angie.
Thanks for having me. I always enjoy it.
Yeah, well, I'll send you a little message on Twitter, and I hope you and all your clients and readers have a prosperous year ahead.
Thank you.
All right. So that's Angie for you guys, and follow her, Setzer, at uh, Goddess of Grains, and check out her website. It's Consursroi, CONSUSROI.com. Keep your head in the grains. They're great technical markets too. So, you go back to the old school traders, and they said currencies and grains were very good technical markets. So that's a wrap. Remember, don't just count your bushels, count your blessings, and see everyone to wrap up the week tomorrow. Thanks again, Angie.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.